guys! In this video, I'll show you how to create digital versions of your bullet journal themes and then sell them online. Digital products in general are a great passive income stream for any of you creative people out there. And if you already share your journal online, I think this would be a great opportunity for you to make some extra cash for your efforts. The tools you'll need for this are a scanner or a camera of some sort, and then a photo editing software. I personally use Photoshop, so that's the software we're gonna use in this video, but if you don't have that, I'll leave some cheaper alternatives in the description as well. But now let's just get started, and the first step of this whole process is to get the bullet journal pages to our computer. I always do this right after I finish setting up the layout, so there are no notes or markings on them yet, and there are actually two ways you can do this step. The first one is by using a scanner, and the second one is by simply taking pictures of your pages with a camera. I've used both methods in the past, and in this case there won't really be a difference in the end product, but I think a scanner would be a better option for you if you think about selling other types of art prints as well. Especially if you want to create larger prints, having a scanner with good scanning resolution might be an investment worth considering. The main thing we need to think about while scanning the pages is what resolution or DPI we want to scan them with. In this case, we'll want the end pictures to have 300 DPI, which is the optimal printing resolution for any digital pictures. So I usually scan the pages with a little bit higher resolution in this point, so that we don't need to stretch any of the pictures in the editing software. It's always better to start with a bigger picture file that you can scale down, rather than having a small picture that you're trying to make bigger, because that will cause your images getting blurry. So I just scanned all the pages from my September layout and named them in a way that I can find them later. If I have any bigger paintings on the spreads like these flower arrangements, I usually scan them before attaching them to my journal. If you don't have a scanner and want to take the pictures with your camera, the only things you need to consider are that the notebook pages are as flat as possible, then that you're taking the pictures straight from the top, and that you're taking a large picture, so again, we don't need to scale them bigger on the computer. But now that we have the pictures of these pages, we can start the editing process where most of the magic happens. You'll probably notice that in this point, no matter how good camera or scanner you have, the pictures won't look that great. My scanner picked up every shadow, crooked line, and dust particle there is, but it doesn't matter because we are actually gonna use very little of these original pictures and then add all the rest in the editing software. So it's finally time to open Photoshop, and I'll start by editing this September cover page first. Here we have this big flower arrangement picture, and then just the monthly title and calendar on the other one. So the first thing we're gonna do is to create a new picture for the digital version of this page. I always use 28 x 20 cm size for my pictures that I later divide in half, so when we print these in full size, they will fit well with a standard A5 size bullet journal like the Leuchtturm or Archer and Olive, or almost all the popular notebooks out there. This size will leave a small margin on the pages, so you can also alter the size a bit if you would like to have the prints larger or smaller. Then I set the resolution to 300 and don't touch the rest of these settings at all. So now that we have our first white canvas here, the next step is to bring the dot grid to the background. I've created a separate file for myself of the dot grid, so I can just easily copy and paste it to all of my pictures, and I don't have to do it again every single time. I did this by simply scanning an empty bullet journal spread and then just removed everything else from the background except the dots. Remember to check that the dots are as close to 90 degrees as possible, and also notice the gap in the middle where in our journals the page bind would be. I have the dots on their own layer with a translucent background, so now when I copy them, it doesn't bring the white background with it. So after pasting these dots on our picture, I'm again leaving them on their own layer in the background where I won't add anything else after this. Then I'll do the same thing with the scanned picture. So first I will select the area I want to copy, and then I'll paste it to the new picture on its own layer. Now you can see that the scanned picture is much bigger than the one we created because we used that higher resolution in the beginning, so you can just scale it down to fit your new picture. Next, I'll usually erase any empty spaces on the scanned picture with the eraser tool so that we'll have this clean and pretty white dot grid on the background rather than this gray dusty one from the scanned version. And after that, it's time to start the redrawing process of all the rest of the details on these pages. I pretty much only use the original scanned photo for any of the decoration pieces, and depending on the decorations, I sometimes even draw them again on Photoshop. This will definitely take some time, and it's almost as if you're creating a whole another theme. But the good point of any digital products is that you only need to do this process once, and after that you can sell this even years after this whole creation process. So here I started from the monthly title and again created a new layer that I'm working with. I would advise to have everything on their own layers as much as possible, because that way it's always easier to modify everything later. As you can see, I like to use the scanned picture almost as my guide through this whole editing process, so I can roughly see where everything is supposed to be on the page, and I can also use it as a guide for any of these titles. Creating smooth handwriting on a computer might be a bit tricky, so I like to use this smoothing function on my brush tool, which will make things about 100 times easier. I also work with this drawing tablet, which makes drawing and writing on computer much easier, so I recommend it if you are gonna draw a lot. But if you happen to have an iPad, that would work for the same purpose. After the title, I just kept editing all the rest of the details on this page as well. I even delete all the title highlights I've done with brush pens, because I don't think they look that good either after the scanning. And then when it comes to all of the other text and numbers, I usually write them digitally to keep everything looking as clean as possible. The font I typically go for is called Courier New, which is a free font that all of you surely have on your devices, but you could easily change it up as well and go for anything that pleases your eye. I feel like this one suits most of my theme styles, so that's why I often go with it. I usually provide 2 monthly options and then a blank version whenever I sell these digital themes, and you can easily edit these pictures to do that and fit another month. You just have to alter the calendars and titles a little bit, and always create new titles and calendars on their own layers again. So now you can easily group the layers in the layer panel and then just hide and show whatever you want super easily. This will make it super fast later to change between each month when we are saving these pages into the final pictures. But I guess that's pretty much everything for this page for now, so let's now move on to edit this flower arrangement on the left. So this time I actually mainly used this scanned version and just edited it slightly to fix some of the imperfections there was from the start. So first of all, I usually always start by touching up the color settings. I might add some contrast, tweak the saturation up, and even do more than that if the colors are super off. Scanning usually really destroys the original color, so just do whatever you gotta do to fix that. And also remember that no one is stopping you from taking everything even a step further than what it originally was. Then next, I usually start erasing some pencil strokes, maybe touch up some blurry lines, and also remove some dust or hair or other stuff the pictures might have. My favorite tool in Photoshop for this is the spot healing brush tool, which looks like this small band-aid. This is perfect for erasing any imperfections in the picture super quickly. In this specific painting, there were also some of these white areas that I had rushed through in the painting process, so I just went over everything to make it look a little bit better. I actually made this picture into its own print as well, so that's why I used quite a lot of time to perfect everything. And when I show you the original version underneath, I think you can definitely see the difference all of this made. But after that, it finishes our first spread, and now let's walk through one more together just so you can see a few more tools in action. So next I decided to edit this simple monthly overview spread, but we're gonna start with exactly the same way as the previous one. So first I created a new picture, then brought the dot grid to the background and removed all the empty spaces from the scanned version. Then I wanted the September title again here, and since we already wrote it once, we can now just copy the font from the previous picture, and I just removed the first letter and wrote it again because I wanted to keep it in lowercase on this one. Whenever I create lines for these calendars or for some of the text areas, I always just use the line tool, and then I just copy the same line to make everything faster for myself and also to keep the lines in same length. On the next page, I decided to remove the content section because I think that's not something that everyone needs. So I just left an empty space here, and now people who buy this theme can use it for whatever they need. And then on this side, I drew all of these decorations again. I also scanned some of these circles and shapes I did with watercolors. So I just used that picture for the watercolor circle here. And I added some shadow to it to make it stand out from the rest of the page a little bit more. And then I decided that it was just easier to draw this black plant thing again in Photoshop so that the end result looked a little bit more clean and put together than keeping the scanned version. But after that, I just continued doing the same thing for all of the other spreads as well. I'm gonna save you some time and not go through every single little thing. And I think in general, there are so many ways to do all of these steps. So definitely find whatever works for you. I definitely didn't use all of the tools at first that I'm using now. So I was wasting a lot of time, and I think there are definitely things that I could improve even now. So it has all been a big learning curve, and I know it must look so intimidating and complicated in the beginning, especially if you're not used to using Photoshop. But I swear you'll definitely learn something new with every theme you're making, and then the next one will always be a little bit easier. But yeah, that being said, when everything was finally done here, I started to save these pages one at a time as PNG files. So as I said, I made this theme for September, October, and then I made this blank version that can be used for any month, and I save all of those in their own files and folders. Then of course, if you want to sell these themes, the last thing we need to do is to create some pictures to actually showcase all of this work in the shop. So I always make a picture that first shows a preview of the whole theme, and then one that specifically shows the 3 monthly options you'll get. This time I actually created a new background for myself of this wooden picture that might be familiar for you from my videos, and I think it's the same thing here than with the dot crate. So I really recommend you to save an empty preview like this somewhere, so next time you'll create a theme, you already have a preview template like this that you can just quickly use by copying and pasting all the pictures. I do the same thing on my shops with everything else as well, because on top of making my job a lot easier, it also helps having a more cohesive look in your whole shop. But yeah, after those preview pictures, I think that's pretty much how I create these digital themes. I know this was a lot of information and probably not the most beginner-friendly tutorial, but I tried my best to also leave some quick commands and tips to the screen, because I probably forgot to mention something while talking. But anyway, I really hope some of you will actually use this information to create your own shops and start benefiting from your art skills. That would make me so happy. And if you have any more questions, please just leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. And also, if you have more experience in using Photoshop and you see me doing something completely wrong, please point it out as well so I can improve too. I'm totally open for feedback like that. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and also check out my shop if that's something you're interested in. But I think that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are, and see you in my next one. Bye bye!